In this part of the tutorial, I'll be showing you how to make these mini feed bags for your LeMieux pony or Crafty pony. So to get these bags, you have to go to this website. I'll put the link in the description. But so you should turn up on this page, and basically you need to scroll down until you get to like the blog archive, which is just like the dates on them, and you have to press 2020, and you have to press September. You have to press printable feed bags, and it should take you to this page, and then basically you just have to scroll down until you get to the photos of the mini feed bags. So they do different types of feed bags. They also do the like shaving bags, which I think are really cool. And basically, yeah, so you can see you keep on scrolling down, and there's a YouTube tutorial there as well. So there are different types of feed bags. The stablemates, paddocks, mini winnies, like there are all sorts. Are really cool what this person has created. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to choose which one you want. So I think I'm going to choose the stablemate, and you have to right click on it, and then after you right click on it you have to put save image as or copy image as, and then you have to put what you're going to like save it as. So I think it was like stablemates mini printable feed bags. So these are like the perfect size for your mini LeMieux ponies. I absolutely love using these. So then you're going to go ahead and press save, and then you're going to click on it when it pops up in your top right hand corner. You're going to right click on it again, and you're going to press print. Okay, now for the actual bags themselves. So after you've printed it out, obviously you're going to want to go and grab it and get a nice pair of scissors or like one of those paper slice things. I have one in the background, but it's quite hard to film with. And basically you just want to cut around the entire outline of it and cut out the little sort of shapes in the middle of them, in the middle of where the flaps are. So just do it as neatly as you can. I mean, it doesn't really matter that much if they're a bit scruffy, because I mean, some of them probably are. Okay, now for the folding. So I tried to do it with a ruler, but the ruler didn't really help me that much, so I kind of ditched it halfway through. But I started off with the flaps. It doesn't really matter what order you do, just as long as everything gets folded, because I sometimes forget about the flaps. And then I do like the corners of the box. So I just fold along where the lines are. They're quite easy to see, so I wouldn't worry about that. Just folding over the end, but this bit's a bit fiddly at the end where you have to fold over that little bit, and I'm just using my nail to press it down. Okay, now for the glue. So I'm shaking it up here, and I put it on the end bit, and as you can see here, I just sort of squeeze not too much out, but just enough. So I squeeze that out, and then I spread it out all over that little flap. And then what I do is I fold over the other side and stick it down. So as you can see here, and I don't need to hold it there too long because the glue, it dries quite quickly, but I just make sure I get it in the right position. And then after I've done that, I start working on the flap. So I just put a bit of glue on each flap and stick it down. It's quite simple to do, it's not very fiddly or anything. On to one of my favourite bits. So I just close the glue because I don't want that spilling everywhere. But this is the stuffing. So you don't have to do this, but it just gives the bag its shape. So I use like stuffing that you put inside of a cushion to just hold the bag up, and I just fill it as much as I can really. And then as you can see here, I put super glue on the inside to make it stick together. And if you don't want to sit there holding it using a hair clip, if you slide that along the top, that will hold it in place for you. Now this bit's a bit more tedious. You don't have to do this bit if you don't want to. I just think it makes a nice detail. But what I did is I just sewed along the top, so you can either use like running stitch and go back on yourself, or do back stitch, which also works really well. So here I'm just tying a knot in the end of it. Which, yeah, so this bit isn't really that fiddly, but I think it does add a really nice detail. And here, I know it looks like I'm just faffing about with it, or I kind of am, but I'm like tucking in the knot to just make it try and look a bit neater. But yeah, so here is the finished product. You can see the sewing on the top really adds something. But yeah, onto the hay nets. In this part of the video, I'm going to show you how to make these mini hay nets. So to start off with, I will tie a piece of string to either side of the chair, and then I'll do a knot like this. And I do about 20 strands of wool, all about the same length, and I fold them in half and tie that knot. I just tie them onto the base. So I like to tie them like quite tight so they're not going to fall off, but also not too tight because I want to be able to slide them around in the future like I'm doing now. After you've tied a piece of string onto the base, you want to grab 2 pieces of thread on the outside, so you can see as I'm doing here, and then basically I just knot them in the middle, and what that little triangle is that will be the hole in the hay net, so I'm just tightening up the knot, and depending on how big you make those triangles, that's how big the holes in the hay net are. So if you make really little triangles, it means the hay net will have really little holes in it, whereas if you make massive triangles, it means the hay net will have massive holes in it. So it just sort of depends what you want to do, and here I do the top row. So I'm just knotting all of those along, spreading them out as I go, and then in this clip here I'm doing the bottom 2 rows of knots. After I finished knotting all of the loose ends together, I took it off of the chair, as you can see I'm doing here, and I grabbed a rolling pin, and then I tied it around the rolling pin, and started knotting all of the loose ends together, because obviously you don't want like a big gap in all of your hay net, which is what you would have if you were to not do this step. So it's a bit fiddly doing this, and that's why I have this esme on the background, but you just have to be patient with it. And you can see this is what it looks like after I took it off of the rolling pin. So I trimmed all of the loose ends off of it, and I got this chunky needle, and I struggled to thread it, but I managed to do it, so you can see. And I basically just weave it in and out of the last layer of holes, as you can see I'm doing here. And I just do that all the way around until I get to the bit where I started at, and I pull it through like that. And then here what I'm doing, so that will be the bottom of the hay net, and you can see I am tying a knot to keep it all like together, because you don't want a hole in it. So you can see I just do a double knot, I pull it as tight as I can to make sure it's not going to come undone, because we wouldn't want that. And then after I've done that, I just trim it off to make it look a bit neater. And yeah, so you can see I'm also knotting the end here, again to make that look a bit neater, and it just makes it look a lot nicer. So I just did a double knot on that, and then I flip it inside out, and that is your finished hay net. So you can see, onto the head collar. Here's how to make a mini head collar for your mini LeMieux pony, or you could alter it for a crafty pony. So to start off with, you're going to want 3 pieces of ribbon around these lengths, although I would recommend changing the 10cm one to 7cm because it ended up being too long. So first of all, I took the 35cm ribbon and threaded it through one of these rings that I have, and you can see I am gluing it down. So I just threaded it through, folded it over and stuck it back on itself to give it the most secure hold as possible. So you can see here I'm just squeezing the glue out onto the bit of ribbon, and I am folding it over. So for the rings, I just used 2 pieces of wire. They're pretty small, they're nothing massive. They just need to be big enough to hold the ribbon in place. So here I'm just holding it to dry. And then after that bit dried, I took the other end of the ribbon, threaded it through, folded it over and stuck it down like I did with the first end of the ribbon. So I just threaded it into the same ring. So this section will be the bit that goes around the pony's like jaw or behind its ears. So I'm just making that here, and you can see I am attempting to stick it down. It's a bit fiddly, but I'd say it's worth it. So you can see I am sticking it down, and next we will be making the noseband. So for the noseband, you're going to take the 21cm piece of ribbon and do the same sticking method that we did with the other bit. So obviously this bit will go over the nose. So if you are altering this for a crafty pony, you'd want to like see how big the noseband is, or how big its like nose is, and then you'd measure around that. Instead of using these measurements, you just alter it. So I'm just holding it down to dry here, and then I take the other side and thread it through the little ring. So that ring at the bottom is useful because first of all, we're threading another piece of ribbon through that, the 7cm piece, which it says it's 10 centimeters, but it's meant to be 7 centimeters. And also you can like clip mini lead ropes onto it, which is quite handy as well, so you can actually lead them when they're wearing their head collars. And this is one of the 2 or 3 types of head collars that I can make, so I can do other tutorials on that. So now for this will be the 7cm piece. You're going to thread it through the ring on the back piece, or the bigger loop of the head collar, and you're going to stick it down using the same method we have used on both sections of the head collar so far. And then you'll just take the noseband piece and thread it through there, and again just stick it down. So you just have to hold it for a minute and make sure it's in the right position. But yeah, I would definitely recommend doing this bit about 7 centimeters instead of 10, because I had to rip it off and trim it down. So 7 centimeters was definitely too much. And this is your finished product off of the pony. So this is one of 3 head collars that I can do tutorials for, and this is me putting it on the pony. So you can see I just slide the back piece over and behind its ears and behind its jaw. You can see what I'm doing there, and then for the nose piece I just bring that up and slide over its nose. So yeah, that is your finished tutorial. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you will use these in the future.